Hey everybody, welcome to another lively, interesting, or whatever kind of episode it's going to be today of Life Matters TV. I'm Tommy Stoffel coming to you from somewhere in Southern California. Mystery spot, no, not there, and today my co-host and producer and director and co-star of the show, David, is coming to you from somewhere in the middle of the United States of America. David, where are you today and what's going on in your life, buddy?
Good afternoon. I'm actually in Chicago today. I'm doing another men's training here and just taking some time out to be on this show because I just love doing this so much. What's going on in my life? Wow. Well, I think the biggest thing that's happening in my life that you and I have talked about is this new relationship that's kind of blossoming for me. And I still don't know for sure where it's going yet, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I'm really enjoying having the sharing space with a beautiful woman in my life. And you know, it's something that just kind of magically appeared when I stopped looking for it. It was a funny thing, you know. It's kind of funny how that happens. And I think that's what we've been talking about all along anyway, Tommy, is trying hard to let go, but realizing that once you let go, it wasn't so hard in the first place, and the trying so hard wasn't really necessary, and the letting go part just allowed the universe to unfold. And so now today, you know, we're going to be talking about a related, but not exactly the same subject, and that is the subject of how we seem to have this idea that we have to pursue happiness. So that's what we're going to be chatting about today. So let's kind of dive in and see where it goes.
Let's dive in deep into the pool. Pursuit, right? So the pursuit of happiness, I think it's in the United States Constitution. And I'm not sure what the forefathers had intended with that. But for me, what I see happening and has happened is that in this idea of pursuing happiness, somehow a race has been created. Mm-hmm. It's a race, right? You think of the word pursuit. Like, to me, a pursuit is something that you're chasing and never getting, right? If you think of the word pursuit. If I'm just pursuing, then I'm following and never attaining. Yeah. And to me, that's very elusive. It's like it's like always out there and never here. It's like the future. It's always in the future. So how are you ever going to be something if you're always pursuing it? So I don't know if we want to delve into the racing part of pursuit or the never attaining it part, but that's how this is opening up for me.
I like that, the racy part of pursuit. By the way, I've just noticed that the color in this room, my face looks very yellow, and that's because I've got these kind of strange yellow lights in the room, and I couldn't find any better lighting. So I don't have jaundice, so you can relax about that. But yeah, Tommy, that whole thing about pursuit, I like that image, and it does feel that way sometimes, doesn't it? Where do we get the idea that, you know, we have to look for something outside of ourselves in the first place? You know, when we're little kids, I think we have a natural tendency just to be in our happiness, to be the happiness that we really are, the joy that we really are. We tend to kind of stay in that place and live our lives from that place and just be so curious and adventurous and joyful and just out there looking at this whole world in a sense of awe and wonder. And yet here we are as adults forgetting about all of that and thinking that in order to attain this happiness that was already a part of us, we have to go outside. We have to go outside and look for these things and connect to some race, as you call it. You know, to a rat race is what it really is, right? And somehow we're going to get our satisfaction from that. Seems like a kind of a disturbing way of going, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it's disturbing in many ways. It's because just about every problem we face, or every problem I deal with as a coach or a consultant or even a trainer, teacher, whatever capacity I'm showing up in life with other people, interacting with other people, I can attribute it a lot back to, look, we're born right now as human beings, we're born into the race. We're born into the human race. Now, I'm not talking races and creed and our history of, you know, genetically history. I'm talking about the rat race. David, you said it, that's what it is. And we're born into this race that is set into motion by this never-ending pursuit for more, never-ending pursuit of stuff, never-ending pursuit of happiness that we think is, once we get it, once we have the new car, once we have the new gadget, or once we have the new relationship, or once we have the new this, then all of a sudden I'll be happy. And it's not our fault. It's not like we woke up deciding to be greedy and clingy and taking everything for ourselves. It's just the environment we were born into at this point. Yeah. But the good news is that there's a shift going on. And there are people that are waking up from this race, waking up from this nightmare, and realizing that there's a different way to be, and to be, like you said, be like we were as kids. So the proof in the pudding is that we know how to be that way because we were, and it's not that hard to get back to.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's an interesting point. Maybe the whole point is that we know how to be that way. We certainly experienced it as young children. And yet somewhere along the way, we kind of forgot. And so maybe the pursuit piece is really about trying to remember. Maybe that's what it is, trying to reclaim our memory of what really is true for us. And trying all kinds of different things, some of which work and some of which don't. I mean, let's face it. Sometimes getting a thing, a shiny new object, actually does trigger some happiness, at least for a little while. And, that's cool. Meet a new person, get excited because there's stuff going on, get a new car and feel great with that new car smell and everything. But all of that stuff seems to fade after a while, doesn't it? It all just kind of passes into the background. And then we resume the chase. Oh, I got to find that stuff again. Where is it now? What can I find next? And you're right. It's just a constant, well, it's almost like a hamster wheel. That's kind of what comes up for me right now. I hit the happiness at the bottom of the wheel. That wheel goes around, and I lose my happiness, and it comes around again. And then I step on the happiness, and it gets all, it just keeps going and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Well, the truth is, all of that is fleeting. All of that will pass. And the only real happiness actually lies in here. Right in here, in my heart, in my soul. Question is, how can I access that all the time?
And the first thing, and hamster, rat, yeah, we're using the same metaphor, right? and somebody, one of my teachers once said, and one of my teachers once said that even if you win the rat race, you're still a rat.
That's right. Yeah.
And so the pursuit, right? And yeah, so how do we get back to it? How do we get back to being me? How do we get back to being happy? You naturally are happy inside. You naturally are peaceful inside. You naturally are all these amazing things inside, which we always say, David, David says, I am. I am happy. It's just a matter of, as a child, we know we had it. What happened? Well, we get conditioned, we get programmed, we get judged, and then we start judging. We get, fear placed upon us, and then we start fearing. We get worry placed upon us, and we start worrying. And these are all conditions that we can point back and just kind of say is, that's a condition. Those are boxes or conditions of living in this human race. That the race creates these conditions for wanting more and having the next thing. A friend told me once that she went through this experience. She started shopping. She's all of a sudden, started making money, and I go, oh, I guess I'm gonna start shopping. And she was shopping, and she got this real excited high of shopping. She went and got herself some new nice stuff, and then a couple days later, it wore off. Mm-hmm. And then she was, so I gotta go shop. Well, the last time she shopped this much. Well, guess what? That much didn't satisfy her as much. Now she had to shop this much. You had to shop a little more. And then that wore off after 3 days. Now I got to go shop again, and you have to shop a little more to get the same, that joy or that happiness or that excitement, that feeling. And after like a couple weeks of this, she was going broke and going into debt, and because it just kept ramping up. And that's part of the trick, and we have to just recognize that sometimes and just see that we're caught in the trap, and then it'll start to unwind somehow.
And the behavior that you're talking about, it reminds me a lot of, how addicts behave. When they first start maybe trying some, whatever their drug is, whatever that thing is that gets them turned on, it only takes a tiny little bit, and And so maybe the second time they do it, they can still get away with that tiny little bit, but maybe the third or fourth time they notice, you know, I have to get just a tiny little bit more. And before you know it, you're taking a lot of that stuff in order to get the same result. And before you know it, your body is destroyed. Your body is destroyed and your mind is destroyed because you've been putting all this poison in as a way of trying to get something that was already there to begin with. It's really a very, very strange phenomenon that we go through here. And I think that the chasing after happiness is pretty much the same thing. It's a form of addiction. And really, it clearly is not healthy, because what do we end up with? We end up with a lot of stuff and no happiness, you know?
a lot of stuff, including a lot of debt, including a lot of, stuff to overstuffed closets or homes that are too big for us, or, you know, too much stuff. And then and somebody said to me once that for everything we own, it's a little bit of a weight on our shoulder, like a little bit of a weight in our life. For all the stuff we own, feel that, right? For all the stuff that's cluttering my closet or cluttering my garage or cluttering my storage unit. And how many people have more than one storage unit these days?
Yeah.
Right? And you kind of feel, because it's responsibility. Then you have to worry about keeping it all, keeping it safe, keeping it dry, keeping it from mold. You got to worry about it getting old, getting rusty, getting broken, right? This is stuff that we thought was going to get us happiness, and now it just becomes just the opposite. It's a freaking burden.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
Yeah, you know, and as you're talking about that, it reminds me of when I was going through my divorce. God, how long ago? 2006. Part of the process of that divorce was to, you know, to sell the house and divide all of the possessions. Well, in the process of doing that, I went into our garage, and the garage was loaded to the rafters with stuff. And I looked at this and I said, hey, we've been living here how long, and how often have we used any of this stuff? You know, I actually ended up going to Goodwill probably 7 or 8 times to unload stuff. I didn't even bother trying to sell it. The rest of it, I ended up going to the junkyard and dumping. That's how unimportant it was. And yet, when we were collecting it and amassing it, it was, for whatever reason, it was very important at that time. This is just it was an amazing awareness to me. And the beauty, I just want to say, in the process of letting that go, I noticed a part of me wanted to hang on to it, but there was a huge part of me that just felt so much relief when that was all gone. Now I don't have to lug it around anymore. There's no weight on me. It felt so good to let that go. So thanks for bringing up that image. It just reminded me of that.
This is the point, David, of what we're talking about this for, because we all do it. We all collect things. We all think, oh, I can't let go of that. That has a memory for me. And maybe it's a great memory for me, but really but then somewhere in the back of my mind, every time I move, I've got to pack it up and move it every time so there are some things that you might want to cherish and hang on to, but there's a lot of stuff you need to just make your list and lighten the load. Like you said, letting it go. It's so liberating. I've been through letting go phases in my life too. And oh my gosh, it's like we talk about, getting in this balloon, a hot air balloon, but we can't get off the ground. Well, this is one of those things that's holding us down. It's anchoring us, is some of the stuff that we thought was getting us happy. And now it's just cluttering our closets and cluttering our life and making things heavy, and you can feel the weight of it. So that's probably going to be our exercise for the week, is to tell people to clean a room or clean a closet and donate a bunch of stuff and see how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
Because, that's one of those situations where not only does it make you feel lighter yourself, but you're also giving stuff to people who can use it more than you can, or will put it to use, where it's just being a dust magnet in your space right now.
Right. Well, you brought up another great point here, Tommy, and that is about memories, and we love to cherish all those wonderful things that have happened in our lives. But even so, memories are still things that anchor us to the past. They're not allowing us to be right here, right now. If all I do is think about my past and just remember all that stuff and get myself in a place of melancholy because I'm not experiencing that anymore, then what am I doing? Is I'm creating unhappiness for myself. And then I start the whole process all over again. The only place I'm going to ever find happiness is right here, right now. That's the only place it exists. It's a complete illusion everywhere else. you know? And even if I look outside myself and I see someone else being happy and I think that I can be happy by doing the same thing they're doing, that too is an illusion. My only happiness comes from in here, within. It can never come from outside me. So it's really a choice. And you said this before, you talked about the I am piece. And you know, I do have my program that's all about the magic of I am. And in fact, we did a show on this, I don't know, quite a few weeks ago, the two most powerful words in the universe. And I believe that they really are. I am. So I can make a complete declarative statement about myself, make it true in this moment. I can just say, I am happy. Now, it may be the case that I'm not actually feeling that happiness yet, but when I start to declare it and I start to move into it, happiness just seems to unfold. It just seems to show up. Anyway, sorry, I kind of rattled on there a bit, but you get my point.
No, you're perfectly on point and expressing it beautifully, because it's like fake it till you make it, right? You want to attain something, you want to be something. First, in any human endeavor on this planet, started with an idea, started with an imagination, started with somebody stating something. Yeah. I'm going to create, boom, and they imagined it. And okay, boom, now I'm working through a computer and looking at a camera and underneath a light bulb that works in a home that was built. All started with somebody's decision that I am going to create something, I am going to do something, or I'm going to be something. So you're positively right on the mark. And that's all inside. That's all happiness inside. It's not stuff. It's not even, you know, external relationships. It's not, you know, making other people happy to feel happy ourselves. Those are all just still, like you said, they're traps, they're delusions. They're all tied into expectations, and yeah, it gets mucky, and you can feel it getting heavy already. Yeah. So yeah, however you need to do to come around to letting go. And if it starts by just declaring, I am happy, and 95% of you says, fuck you, no, you're not. And the other 5% says, but I'm trying. Well, that's start there. Yeah. Great. Yeah. You're starting to blow air into your balloon. You're starting to put some hot air in the balloon at least. Yeah. And
well, you know, there's another piece here that I think is important, and that is that I've noticed that in my life, no matter where I've been, and I've probably shared this before in maybe in a slightly different way, I've always had whatever I needed in that moment. I've never had to have anything that I didn't already have. You know what I mean? All my needs have always been met, every step of the way. So anything that I imagined I needed outside of that was just, you know, fluff in my head. That's really all it was.
Yeah, now you're dabbling into Mick Jaggerville. You can't always get what you want, but if you find sometimes you'll get what you need. You'll always get what you need. And that gets into other people's desires, right? We get inundated in this rat race with what we should have, what we should be, what we should look like, what we should smell like, what we should this and should that, and all the shit shoulds. and that to me is other people's desires that they're trying to impose upon me. And then but really, when you look at it, it's a very powerful practice of being content with what you have right now. You may want other things. You may have inspirations, you may have dreams and desires, you may need another car. Great, but just realize what are your desires, what are your wants and needs, and what is not imposed upon you by the race.
Yeah, I think another piece there is that it's really important. It's great to have desires. And I kind of like that word desire rather than want anyway, because desire, you know, has these two words, de and sire, which kind of suggests that it comes from a higher self. It comes from a higher place. It's a recognition that for my next phase of development or evolution or growth or whatever, I desire this in my life in order to make that growth happen. Whereas want suggests I don't have it and I can't have it and I have to cling and desire and grasp and go after it, you know? So there's a different kind of energy associated with those two. So I do agree with paying attention to desires. Desires, I think, are a movement of the heart and the soul towards something, and an invitation to bring that into being in my life so that I can grow and develop to the next level. So I think that's beautiful. Where I think a big mistake comes in is when I begin to attach my happiness to the outcome of that desire. That's when problems start, and that's when the cycle begins again. If I can trust that I am happy right now and have my desire to bring something into my life to help me move in that direction, happiness will just follow along with it, and I don't have to worry about the attachment piece.
Let's dive in, because you're in a very important part of the talk about the attachment or the expectation to an outcome. And let's go deep. Let's just dive into a relationship, you know, and let's talk about a close relationship. Let's talk about maybe a father-son relationship or mother-son relationship, or, you know, something that's tight, and we have attachment to that. Like we want to keep the other person happy, and we're attached to that outcome. We can't control how the other person is going to be. And so we're already setting ourselves up for misery and suffering and other things. Yeah. So let's talk about this for a bit, and let's get away from maybe the crap in your garage, and let's talk about the human beings in our lives that we have expectations of them bringing us happiness. Mm-hmm. Oh, as soon as they're happy, I'll be happy. Or boy, you know, I wish they, you know, and we do that, right? And that's really sticky. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. And really, as you said, well, as we both said, I think throughout this talk so far, is nothing outside of myself can create happiness for me. And one of those things that doesn't work is me expecting someone else to be happy. You know, if I show up a certain way, you're going to be happy, and then I'll be more happy, you know. Well, what I end up doing by that is I end up stopping being who I really am. You know, I end up trying to shape myself according to how I imagine you want me to be, in order to create in you a happiness that will make you be more accepting of me, which will then make me happy. And holy shit, I've started the whole fucking thing all over again. It is just so convoluted.
You're a rat in the wheel, right? You just you hear that logic, and you're like what? Are you nuts? It's insanity.
Yeah.
It really breeds an insane thought process and really crazy thinking when we start into that whole thing of trying to keep somebody else happy. And one of my teachers, Miguel Ruiz, says this very brilliantly, and very simply, is that you can only ever be responsible for your half of the relationship, 50%. That's the only thing you can really be responsible for. You can't be responsible for somebody else's happiness. You can't be responsible for somebody else wanting to be in that relationship with you. Right. No matter who they are.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how close. You know, at that point, if you're trying to do more than your 50% and trying to keep somebody in a relationship, or trying to make them behave a certain way in a relationship, look at my fist and feel that energy, right? You're like putting them in a cage, or you're trying to control them. And again, who the hell likes to be controlled?
Yeah.
Nobody. You know, you gotta let that free and untie and unhook your own expectations to have that. And then trust me, relationships just open up when you let go of that grip. Even the most weird relationships or the hardest relationships will magically actually start to relax, and the other person will just shift their energy around it. Like you said, it creates energy, right? When we're trying to make something go a certain way.
Yeah.
Eek.
You know, it's kind of like, you know, that song. I mean, this is a saying that's been around for years, but I know Sting, or maybe it was the Police that did the song. You know, if you really love someone, you've got to set them free. And, you know, I think there's a huge amount of wisdom in that statement, because I have no control. While I might imagine some of the things that might make you happy, that's just my imagination. Unless I check in with you and find out if that really is going to help or not, I don't know for sure. It's just a guess. It's an illusion. It's a complete hallucination in my head. That's what it is. So you know, the real important piece here is I have to take responsibility for my happiness. And what I'm going to invite all of our viewers to pay attention to this week is just notice how many times you think or say out loud, "You make me so happy." Because it's not true. It isn't true that the other person makes you happy. It is true that the other person is showing up a certain way and you feel happy right now. Do not put it on the other person. It's not the other person's responsibility that you be happy because they show up that way. Let it go. Let them go and be happy no matter how they show up. That's the challenge.
That is the challenge, and we get caught in that all the time. Oh, you make me so happy. Well, listen what you're doing. You're giving away your control of your own happiness to somebody else.
Yeah.
And they're already dealing with their nutty life, no matter who they are, how close they are to you. They're dealing with their stuff. Why are you giving away control of your happiness to somebody else? That's just silly in itself.
Yeah.
And something else I want to say before we let it get too far away, in being responsible for my own happiness, I need to let go of other people, not only making them happy, but I need to let go of my anger towards other people, my resentment towards other people, my judgments of other people. There's a whole underlying world of things we hang on to that are not making that a 50-50 relationship.
Right.
Those are expectations, they're desires, they're not the good desires, but the greedy desires of like, oh, you know what, they said something mean to me 20 years ago and I still haven't forgiven them. And we do that in the grand scale, but we do that every freaking day, unless you don't. So we got to let go of that too, right? We got to let go of our own, listen to Joanne. We have to forgive. We have to be grateful. We have to let go of the grudges and the judges and all the other nonsense to really let that relationship be its own and be free from it. And then again, you're not tied to other people. You're not dependent on other people for your happiness.
Yeah. Well, and I want to just have a little modification of the language here. First off, nobody has to do anything. That's the first rule, because you're free to live your life the way you want to live it. And you're free to continue to have attachments if you want to have them. But you may find that those attachments don't give you the kind of happiness that you're looking for. If you truly want to find happiness, then we recommend that you find a way to let go of those attachments. That's what Tommy and I are talking about here. So there's no have-tos. We're not judging you for having any attachments or maybe living your life the way you live it. We're just offering you our perspective. And I can tell you, I have done many years of personal growth work, and I still find myself doing this stuff. I still find myself, somehow holding someone else responsible for my own stuff. I have to come back and remind myself it's not their fault. It's not their doing. They don't have control over my feelings. My feelings are my own. I am the one who has the ability to feel the way I choose to feel. And that's the same for every one of you. You all have that power too. So the question is, do you choose to stay in control of your own power and to, take responsibility for your own actions, your own thoughts, your own words, and your own feelings? Or do you want to continue holding other people responsible for what's going on in your life? If you choose one, my guess is you're probably going to find a lot of relief and happiness and joy in your life. If you choose the other, I'm guessing you're going to continue to experience frustration and disappointment. So it's really your choice.
It's your choice when it becomes your choice, right? Yeah, absolutely. When you become aware of it and you can make those choices. And just to kind of wrap it around to where we started about, kind of being born into this, this mentality, this rat racing mentality, that's where this all comes from. No fault of your own, no blame of your own. I mean, it's not like we are intentionally trying to make crummy relationships or hang on to stuff that we need to let go of. It's a condition of the environment. We're conditioned, we're programmed, we're brainwashed, that's just the way this goes until we start to wake up a little bit and then say, you know what, I don't want to be like this anymore. And that's what you're doing. That's what we're doing every week. We're helping untie the knots, kind of untie, those hooks, teaching you how to let go, and because we're doing it ourselves day to day, right? Mm-hmm. In our own lives and our own relationships. And so hopefully, your choice when it becomes your choice. So beautifully said, David, thanks.
Okay, so I guess what I'd like to do is offer some kind of an exercise. You have some suggestions about what we can do to help people, move towards a more fulfilling and more happy life, 3 steps that we can do this week?
Yeah, pick something that feels heavy. Pick a room in your house, pick a relationship in your life. Pick one or the other. Either go for something physical that you can actually donate and move, or pick a relationship if you're feeling strong about it. and identify your connections to it. What are your assumptions? What are your demands? What are your expectations? List them if you have to. Write it down. Like, I'm hanging on to this because it has a memory for me. Or I'm hanging on to this because I'm just too lazy to get it out of the garage. Or, so do that. So pick something heavy, list why you're tied to it, and choose whether you want to let it go or not. Set it free.
Yeah. And in the process of choosing to let it go, one of the things you can do on the flip side of that list is you can say, what benefits will I experience when I do let this go? Try to anticipate the freedom that you're going to feel in your life, and feel that in your body. Because when you do that, it just makes it so much easier to actually let it go. And that's really, I think, a big key to the work that Tommy and I do, is we encourage people to imagine the relief, imagine the forgiveness, imagine the opening in your heart, imagine, you know, those ties falling away from you and the bag falling off your back, and just how light you're going to feel. Imagine that, feel it in your body, and then just say, wow, I can't hang on to this anymore. And just let it go. Just let it go and thank it for all that it brought you in the time that you had it. Remember, always be grateful, because everything had a purpose at one point. It just may no longer be serving that purpose today.
All right. Well, David, thank you for the beautiful wrap up there. And hopefully this has helped people and will help you like do a practice this week. Next week, we're going to kind of continue into the same theme, and we're going to specifically talk about relationships and dive deeper into relationships in a topic we're calling tainted love. So join us next week as we dive a little deeper into untying the knots and setting yourself free.
Yeah, baby. All right, bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Peace. Bye, everybody.